Couldn't Want to catch the big one on your next fishing trip but can't find that perfect bait? Maybe it's time to visit the Master. Masturbators. We'll help you yank one out of the water and be the hero of your next fish fry. Tugging and jerking the line with a big mouth bass can be easy with our proven fish baits. Don't go blind looking for that perfect bait. Harry Palms of Destin, Florida says,
I was a lonely, frustrated man till masturbating made my dreams come true.
It's masturbators.
Yeah, that too.
Visit us online at lubeandtissue.com or stop by one of our convenient locations at a rest area near you. Masturbators.
We're on the highway.
We're on the highway.
I am the devil. I am the Lord Satan from the netherworld, ruler of the damned and eternal king of hell. Even I, the master of deceit, can only stomach so much bullshit from the mainstream media and indie grifters. That's why I tune in to Morning Extra with Uncle Warren, because he eliminates my competition, and also because I know I'm gonna see that motherfucker soon.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride.
Greetings from Earth. It is I, your humble host, Uncle Warren, here on yet another edition of this programming we like to call Morning Extra, or subtitled, Where Are My Pants? But that subtitle goes with a lot of things, because I'm constantly looking for pants. Pants that fit, pants that are mine. You know, it's just a pants saga. If it's not like a Candy Crush saga, which I don't know what the fuck that is. I know what Candy Crush is. It's like some sort of mind MK Ultra thing to get people hooked in, and then that you can do fuckery around them because they're not watching and they're playing with their video games with Candy Crush. But I hear it's a fun game if you're into, you know, being hypnotized. Good morning, everybody. Going around the horn here. We got Desert Mantis. You want to be like me when I grow up? Make sure you got plenty of bail money. If you're going to do that, at least be prepared. Thank you, Desert. You're very sweet. Rick, good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. I was thinking about you. There was a guy who won, he won a $500 pick three. I can't remember where he was, but he used 666. And he won $500, and then he took 100 of that and bought some more tickets, and he ended up winning like $2.5 million or some shit like that. Crazy. 666 in the house. Woo! Hail Satan. Teresa holding it down on Rockfin. Renting pants for tall men might get iffy. Yes, I know. I'm not a big fan of renting. I'm not a renter of pants. At least not yet, but, you know, twist my arm, maybe. Threaten me with a good time. We got Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show, Intergalactic in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Max Sarjay, chillin' like that villain. We've got Global is here as well. It's International Day of Solidarity with Detained and Missing Staff Members, UN Nations General Assembly. Yes, indeed. Thank you for that. Always keeping us. We have a very smart chat, very up to date on things. You know, we don't care if you're dumb or not, but you know, just come hear the word of the Lord, and the Lord being the the information you need. CBC voter, Holy Taco Tuesday, Batman. Yes. Robin, old chum. Looks like we've got some tacos to eat. And Miguel with the always the two fingers off the top there, peacing out. He made the Faustian bargain. He did. The guy with the 666, he sure as fuck did. That, well, it saved him a trip down to the crossroads to see Legba, and sell his soul. So he just said, fuck it. It was 666 it up right here and get some cash, kid. Yes. All right. Where the fuck are we? What's this? Who died? What happened? Miguel. Miguel always pops in at the very beginning, like before the show even starts, like maybe like an hour or so. He's like one of those guys like the crop dusters. He just flies in, and then he sprays you a peace sign, and then he comes back later maybe. Cheap souls. I know. Well, no, he parlayed. See, that's the thing. The satanic ticket bought him even more goods. So it was it was like $2.5 million. But still, that's still not a lot. In today's economy, it might last you about 6 months. Maybe. Yeah, I was talking to Ed the other day, and we were saying, like, if you were allowed to sell your citizenship for like $5 million, right? They're so worried about people being citizens in this country, right? So you say, you know what? I'll help a brother out. I'll sell my citizenship for $5 million, and then I'll go somewhere with that. I think that would be a good deal. I think you probably see like a good portion of the United States say, peace out. I'm going abroad, probably with abroad. Maybe if I had 5 million, probably not. That's right. He thinks he parlayed. He collect later. That's always in the end. When it hit that, that money, just like life, doesn't last forever. And you're on your deathbed, and there he is, old Satan there with the horns. Soon as now, motherfucker. Yeah, I would totally get out. I don't know where I'd go though. I was thinking like maybe like the Philippines, maybe Vietnam, something like that. But then it's like, well, you'll be a victim of the United States foreign policy. I'm a victim of the United States domestic policy. It's what we call lose-lose, but at least with 5 million, you got a fighting chance. So anyway, think about that. Put in the chat where if you would do it, and if you did do it, where would you go? Some people are like, oh, Canada or Mexico. That's a little too close for me. I don't want to be right next to the heater. I want to be like somewhere far away. I want to help defend Greenland. That's what I'll do. I'll take the 5 million, go to Greenland and have my gun. You ain't gonna take my land, government. Yo, government. Anyway, we got news to get to. Enough of this nonsense. But yeah, think about where you'd go with $5 million in your pocket, tax-free. Yeah, so to say that Trump has been fucking around doing dumb shit is probably an understatement. Because a lot of his shit is either being overturned in the courts or it's currently in the courts right now. And that includes the Department of Education, which is on the chopping block there. So groups sue Trump for dismantling education department by executive fiat. I had a buddy at a fiat once, and it was not an executive fiat. It was the muffler fell off. So, I mean, that tells you. The nation's largest, this is from Common Dreams, the largest labor union representing more than 3 million educators is among several groups that filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration yesterday to demand a federal court immediately halt the government's attempt to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education, warning that the move by Dump is clearly illegal and puts at risk the millions of vulnerable students. The NEA, the National Education Association, said it is joining the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, that would be the NAACP, AFSCME, Maryland Council 3, and several public school parents in suing the administration days after Trump signed an executive order calling on Education Secretary Linda McMahon, which is an oxymoron, and she's just a plain moron, to take all necessary steps to facilitate the closure of the Department of Education, right? You're about to close the store. You're not going to put somebody who's good at their job as the CEO. You want a liquidator. That's what she is. She's a fucking liquidator. That directive followed the slashing of roughly half of the workforce at the Department of Education and the termination of $1.5 billion in contracts and grants for educational programs that had already been approved by Congress, and came a day before the president announced that $1.8 trillion in student loan debt would be overseen by the Small Business Administration instead of the Department of Education, while the Health and Human Services Department will direct programs for students with disabilities. See, there it is. It's like, oh yeah, gonna get rid of Department of Education, man. Ain't gonna pay my student loans. They're like, money, please. They're like Zelensky with the money, please. Yeah, so Small Business Administration is going to handle $1.8 trillion in student loan debt. All right. The administration has insisted the DOE is rife with bureaucratic bloat and waste, the same accusations Trump and his billionaire ally Elon Musk of the so-called Department of Government Efficiency have lobbed at programs like Social Security, Medicaid, and other services for low-income and working Americans, as they've sought to secure $4.5 trillion in permanent tax cuts for the richest Americans. Because, see, that's how shit works. The steps the administration has taken against the DOE constitute a de facto dismantling of the department by executive fiat, reads the complaint filed Monday, noting that the Constitution gives power over the establishment of offices and the determination of their functions and jurisdictions to Congress, not to the president or any officer working under him. And, Congress is controlled by the Republicans, too, and they're not saying dick about this. So the attempted closure of the DOE is the latest of several actions taken by the Trump administration that violate the Constitution, said the NEA, because the department is a congressionally created federal agency and its dismantling requires congressional approval. One would think, right? Federal courts have blocked Trump's attempts to freeze federal grants and loans, noting that the president cannot halt funding that has been appropriated by Congress, and his deportation of Venezuelan immigrants to El Salvador under the Alien Enemies Act after opponents argued in court that Trump was trying to write Congress's limits out of the act. Aaron Ament, president of the Student Defense and Education Law Center, which is representing the plaintiffs in the lawsuit filed yesterday, noted that McMahon has acknowledged they can't legally shut down the Department of Education without Congress. So they're talking all this shit, but they still have to have Congress to do it. Yet that is, for all intents and purposes, exactly what they are doing, said Ament, a brazen violation of the law that will upend the lives of countless students and families. Advocates have warned that while state and local governments oversee the vast majority of the U.S. public education system, shutting down the DOE jeopardizes funding and support for students who have disabilities, live in rural areas, and face discrimination. It would also make it impossible for the department to ensure that federal education funding actually is spent as Congress intended, and could reduce access to Pell Grants, upend repayments for student loan borrowers, and invite fraudulent and predatory behavior from unscrupulous institutions of higher education, said the NEA. The union's president, Becky Pringle, delicious. Oh, just Pringle, not Pringles, said Monday that gutting the Department of Education will hurt all students by sending class sizes soaring, cutting job training programs, making higher education more out of reach, taking away special education services for students with disabilities, and gutting student civil rights protections. In other words, part of the plan. America's educators and parents won't be silent as Trump, Elon Musk, and Linda McMahon try to steal opportunities from our students, our families, and our communities to pay for tax cuts for billionaires, said Pringle. Parents, educators, and community leaders note this will widen the gaps in education, which is why we will do everything in our power to protect our students and their futures. Derek Johnson, president and CEO of the NAACP, said Trump's overarching goal is dismantling the DOE. In dismantling the DOE is deliberately destroying the pathway many Americans have to a better life, which is true. Education is knowledge. I love how they'll say, "Oh well, we got all these fucking art majors," and that everybody's not an art major, all right. So college is for, who else goes to college? Doctors, lawyers, engineers. What's up, Choosy? Good to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. I'm trying to read your code language there. Education is power, said Johnson. The forceful elimination of thousands of essential workers will harm the most vulnerable in our communities. The NAACP and our partners are equipped with the necessary legal measures to prevent this unlawful attack on our children's future. And there's some shit right there. So, yeah. So how it's all part of control. How do you control a population? You keep them stupid. You keep them uneducated, right? Ain't nothing wrong with trade schools. I got nothing wrong. If you want to learn a trade, you want to learn how to, be, build stuff or repair stuff. I mean, yes, we need people like that. But we need other people in society that are educated in different ways. Linda McMahon for education Googled the Ring Boy scandal. I never heard of that. We'll have to look that up. So, and with all the deportations too, I really don't know what the underlying reasoning is for the deportations. It just seems like they're satisfying red meat, maybe trying to get, I don't know, intelligent foreigners out of our country. I don't really know what the end goal is, to be honest with you. But here's Trump again as his administration revokes pathway for 532,000 people legally in the U.S. Alrighty, if I can get this thing to work. The Department of Homeland Security has said it will revoke temporary legal pathways for more than 500,000 people, setting them up for potential deportation in about a month. The order announced on Friday applies to about 532,000 people from 4 countries, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, who have arrived in the U.S. since October 2022. All the people impacted arrived with financial sponsors and were given 2-year permits to live and work in the U.S. under the Humanitarian Parole Program known as CHNV, which stands for Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, I believe, an acronym for the 4 countries set up under the Biden administration. He had used the acronym because he forgot the names, and he fell asleep and pooped his pants. On January 20th, former Department of Homeland Security Secretary Benjamin Huffman issued a directive to end the broad abuse of humanitarian parole and give the program to a case-by-case basis. Current DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, that lady, said on Friday that impacted people will lose their legal status 30 days after the publication of the notice in the Federal Register on March 25th, which would be today, which would mean that parolees without a lawful basis to stay in the U.S. would need to leave before their parole termination date. Humanitarian parole is a long-standing legal tool that presidents have used to allow people from countries experiencing war or political instability to enter and temporarily live in the U.S. During his presidential campaign, U.S. shithead Donald Trump promised to get tough on illegal immigration. However, since re-entering office, he has also been cracking down on legal pathways for people already inside the U.S. and those planning to come from outside, including students, particularly students We're not a fan of his mommy, the widow Adelson there. Before the new order, the beneficiaries of the program could stay in the U.S. until their parole expires, although the administration had stopped processing their applications for asylum, visas, and other requests that might allow them to remain longer. The administration's decision has already been challenged in federal courts, of course. A group of U.S. citizens and immigrants sued the Trump administration for ending humanitarian parole and are seeking to reinstate the programs for the four nationalities. Lawyers and activists have denounced the government's decision. Karen Tumlin, founder and director of Justice Action Center, said in a press release, suddenly revoking the lawful status of hundreds of thousands of CHNV humanitarian parole recipients is going to cause needless chaos and heartbreak for families and communities across the country, or as Trump likes to call it, Tuesday. The administration's targeting of this successful and popular process, one of the last remaining safe and lawful pathways, is reckless, cruel, and counterproductive. You know, when white people came to this country, they didn't need visas. They had boats. They didn't need visas. I don't think the Native Americans here were like, papers, please. They didn't do that shit. Maybe they should have. The Biden administration allowed up to 30,000 people a month from the four countries to come to the U.S. for 2 years with the eligibility to work. As part of the Biden administration's approach to encouraging people to come through new legal channels while cracking down on those who cross the border illegally. The program was said to reduce the number of migrants crossing the border illegally. Advocates for the federal government said that migrants admitted through the policy helped with the farm labor shortage in the U.S. The Biden administration decided last fall not to allow CHNV beneficiaries to renew their 2-year work permits under the program, saying they could apply for other benefits like asylum and temporary protected status. Yay, good job, Biden. Even half-assing it on the way out. Good job there, fuckhead. So, yeah. As we said, these things are going to get tied up in court unnecessarily, causing a lot of time wasted, money wasted, that sort of thing. Choosy, I missed your books. I really did. I'm on the 5th chapter of your manifesto as we speak. Good to see you, brother. So fuckery with the education department, fuckery with people who are legally here, and of course, hypocrisy, if you will, for the Trump administration. What? No, man, you're talking crazy shit. So, this is never seen a breach quite like this. Journalist added to Trump team group chat on bombing Yemen. Yeah. Good job there. Okay. So dumbass's administration came under fire yesterday after a journalist revealed that he was added to a group on a commercial messaging application in which top officials discussed secret plans for the recent bombing of Yemen. All right. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second. I'd say hypocrisy because this is the same shit that Hillary Clinton pulled with her emails, her Secretary of State emails on a private server instead of a secured one. I don't like Hillary Clinton at all, and I'm glad her emails got exposed. But, this is like, hello, hello, pot. This is the kettle. You're black. Oh, wait. Yeah, kettle. Yeah, I remember how that was. So there's hypocrisy there, right? They're doing this on Signal. Rules for thee. I've never seen a breach quite like this, Jeffrey Goldberg, editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, wrote of his experience in the group, which began with a March 11th connection request on the app Signal from Michael Waltz, the name of Trump's national security advisor. The journalist, who has faced public attacks from the president, figured someone could be masquerading as Waltz in order to somehow entrap me. However, in the days that followed, hey, Steve, good to see you, man. In the days that followed, Goldberg saw messages from accounts with names or initials of top officials, including Vice President J.D. Vance, oops, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, oof, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, oop, oop, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State and Aquaman Marco Rubio, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Uh-oh. On March 15th, Trump bombed Yemen, citing the Houthis' interference with global shipping over Israel's U.S.-backed assault on the Gaza Strip, or their help in the genocide. Goldberg published quotes and screenshots from the group, but withheld some details due to security risks for U.S. personnel. Noting a March 15th message from the Pentagon chief, he wrote, "What I will say in order to illustrate the shocking recklessness of this signal conversation is that the Hegseth post contained operational details of forthcoming strikes on Yemen, including information about targets." Looks like Signal's going to be getting hacked a good bit. Bella, good to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Turning within the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold, and a blood-dimmed tide is loosed upon the world. What is that, E.E. Cummings? I think that is. I only know that from that miniseries, The Stand, because it said the center cannot hold. I'm not smart. I just watch TV. The journalist also highlighted how, according to lawyers interviewed by his colleague Shane Harris, Waltz may have violated several provisions of the Espionage Act, as well as federal records laws, giving that he set some messages to eventually disappear. But not the dick pics. He kept the dick pics in there. After Goldberg formally inquired about the Signal Group on Monday, Brian Hughes, the spokesperson for the National Security Council, told him this appears to be an authentic message chain, and we are reviewing how an inadvertent number was added to the chain. The thread is a demonstration of the deep and thoughtful policy coordination between senior officials. The ongoing success of the Houthi operation demonstrates that there were no threats to troops or national security. Angry staffer. Absolute fucking cloud show. Hegseth accidentally included a reporter in the text message group announcing strikes to Yemen, including weapons targets and time. I was talking to my buddy Ed about this, and we're not too quite sure that was an accident, right? The House Speaker, he seems to think it was an accident. I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's any accidents really in Washington, right? Too many people for that to happen. Political figures and observers swiftly weighed in and shared the article on social media, with reporters calling it unfathomable and the must-read of the week, and saying that this story almost seems too wild to be real, but no one involved is disputing it. CNN's Christian Amanpour, that Zionist cunt, amateur hour, is the president, is America being properly served dangerous? Shut up, bitch. I mean, I don't mind people, getting on Trump for this dumb shit, but she can stay the fuck out of it. The group Vote Vets took aim at the defense secretary, a former Fox News host, saying, gross incompetence, the Trump administration accidentally texted a journalist our war plans. This proves what we always knew. Hegseth was never qualified to be SecDef. Now his recklessness is putting troops' lives at risk. This is deadly serious. You keep writing him to ditch that Signal app and use the cone of silence. Willie Bragg in the house. Willie, drop it a 10 spot. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. Men of power have no time to read, yet the men who do not read are unfit for power. Michael Foote. Very good. Thank you, sir. Good morning to you. I hope you're doing well. Good show last night, by the way. I think you got another one tonight, don't you? You got one tonight? Just let us know in the old chat line there. I don't have a chat line. Willie has a chat line. I used to call my chat the Pit, but then that didn't really stick because I used to forget the name of it myself. So I said, fuck it. It must not be good if I don't even remember it. Democratic Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who was former Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate, pointed to the Department of Government Efficiency's attacks on the federal bureaucracy, including the Department of Veterans Affairs. You know where Doge should take a closer look? Trump's cabinet. None of the 83,000 caregivers Trump fired from the VA leaked classified information. Ooh, hiss. Hiss. Such venom there, Waltzy. Congressman Joe Neguse, I'm going to assume that's how it is, Democrat out of Colorado, said, if you read one article today, make it this one. Total incompetence yet again and putting our national security at great risk. Excuse me. U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence and Super Zionist Vice Chair Mark Warner, Democrat out of Virginia, declared that this administration is playing fast and loose with our nation's most classified info, and it makes all Americans less safe. Senator Chris Coons, who likes kicking reporters off of trains, Democrat out of Delaware, said Jeffrey Goldberg's reporting in The Atlantic calls for a prompt and thorough investigation. If senior advisors to President Trump in fact use non-secure, non-government systems to discuss and convey detailed war plans, it's a shocking breach of the standards for sharing classified information that could have put American service members at risk. There needs to be an oversight hearing and accountability for these actions. Yeah. There's something there. Let me get this thing to work. When asked about the reporting on Monday, Trump, a serial liar, commentary, said, I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. It's a magazine. It's going out of business, even though, everything's online. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what? Trump asked the inquiring journalist, who explained that top officials were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials related to the U.S. attack targeting the Houthis. Trump then added, well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it. Very time. Oh, so you didn't know? It's kind of, all right. Responding to a clip of Trump's remarks, David Badash, founder and editor of the New Civil Rights Movement, said 100% incompetence if his comm staff did not brief him on this before he got it in front of a camera. 2, this is the commander-in-chief admitting that he is unaware of what his top national secretary officials are doing. This is bad, and it is bad. But it is national politicians and elected officials, so of course, fuckery is always afoot. As Common Dreams has reported, Trump has also faced criticism for the assault on Yemen, which killed more than 50 people, mostly women and children, according to the Yemeni health ministry, because those are the targets, women and children. They don't want women breeding, and they don't want the kids growing up. Critics, including U.S. lawmakers, have long argued that airstrikes on the Middle Eastern country are illegal because Congress has not declared war. And they have not, there has been no declaration of war at all for any of these people since 9/11, since they decided that, well, everybody is trying to attack the United States. So we can just go on in there. AC-doocy, nothing to see here, folks. Good morning, Wesley. Good to see you, my man. Hope you're doing well this fine Tuesday, this Taco Tuesday. Although it's a little early for tacos, but if I was to get a taco right now, I would probably eat it like a breakfast taco. They have breakfast burritos. Why don't they have breakfast tacos? I don't get it. So, with Trump saying, yay, we blew up Yemen, but just in case, the Pentagon orders second Navy carrier group to the Middle East. Oh, that's not a good look. I thought the Harry S. Truman, you got the Harry S. Truman out there. It's just these people just have sticks and, firecrackers. What are you doing? So, let's see here. Come on. Okay, the U.S. military is sending the USS Carl Vinson carrier strike group. Who the fuck's Carl Vinson? Was that guy on Mama's Family? To the Middle East as fighting with Houthi forces around Yemen reignites after a 2-month pause. According to reporting from the AP, the USS Carl Vinson Carrier Strike Group will end its current deployment in East Asia in the 7th Fleet's area of responsibility and head to the waters around Yemen. That will bolster American force projection in the region, as the ships will be joining the USS Harry Truman Carrier Strike Group in the fight against the Houthi forces around Yemen. That carrier group's deployment to the Middle East has extended another month, according to the AP. The dual carrier deployment comes a week into renewed fighting between U.S. forces and the Houthis, a religious and Yemeni nationalist group that controls much of Yemen, including the capital city. Since October 2023, the group has launched rockets and drones at commercial ships passing through the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden in response to Israel's war in Gaza. The U.S. Navy and Air Force have repeatedly intercepted those munitions, mostly, and carried out bombing campaigns on Houthi-controlled areas. After a ceasefire was signed in January, the Houthis halted their attacks, and the U.S. in turn stopped strikes on Yemen. That ended last weekend when the Truman Carrier Strike Group launched attacks on Yemen in response to the Houthis, saying they would renew actions in the Red Sea. The Carl Vinson and its ships are expected to take 3 weeks to arrive in the Middle East. 2 to 3 weeks, that should be. The last time 2 carrier strike groups were in the CENTCOM area of responsibility was in September. That's the Central Command for all you civies. In August, previous Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin ordered the USS Abraham Lincoln and its support ships to accelerate to the Middle East to join the USS Theodore Roosevelt Strike Group as a deterrent to Iranian strikes against Israel after the latter carried out strikes in Lebanon and Iran. The expanded naval presence was part of a wider increase in American military projection to the region. The Roosevelt and its strike group left in September. Along with its namesake carrier, the Vinson Carrier Strike Group includes a Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser and 2 Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers, in addition to the aircraft that make up Carrier Air Wing 2, Electric Boogaloo. The Vinson and its strike group has been in the waters around the Korean Peninsula in recent weeks, visiting Busan. Ooh, watch out for the zombies on the train. If you haven't seen that movie, The Train to Busan, that's good. That's like 28 days on a train. It's really good. Visiting Busan and conducting drills and exercises with the Republic of Korea Navy and Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force following recent missile tests by North Korea. The Truman Carrier Strike Group entered the 5th Fleet's domain in December to support the fight against the Houthis and saw extensive action in the last weeks of 2024. It briefly left the Middle East for a port visit to Greece for repairs from a collision with a merchant ship, but has been back in the Red Sea. Its deployment was originally set to end at the end of this month. Fighters from Carrier Air Wing 1 took part in the newest strikes on Houthi-controlled parts of Yemen this month. In the previous months-long engagement against the Houthis, the U.S. Navy expended more than 400 munitions and sent multiple carrier groups and independent ships to the area around Yemen. Orange Fuckhead pledged to completely annihilate the Houthis in his latest fight, but a Pentagon spokesman has said that the now week-long conflict is not an endless offensive. It's offensive. It's endlessly offensive, but it's not an endless offensive. So, man, I'm really digging this coffee this morning. Got some biscuits from Popeyes the other day. So I made a ham, egg, and cheese biscuit this morning. Oh, my belly loved it so much, it wanted to have sex with me. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa. Just because you're in the neighborhood doesn't mean you get to drop off a basket of fruit. I don't know what any of that means. Meanwhile, Yemeni missiles halt air traffic at Ben Gurion Airport as U.S. strikes pound Yemen. He's glowing yellow. He's the Highlander. He's got the quickening. There can be only one. French guy playing a Scotsman. Don't get it. Air activity at Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv, Israel, was completely halted on Sunday morning after sirens sounded in central Israel, including Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, due to a missile launched from Yemen. The Israeli military claimed the missile was intercepted, marking the 5th missile operation carried out by Yemen targeting Israel this week, according to Israeli media, of course. The Yemeni air forces affiliated with the Ansarallah movement had previously warned that Ben Gurion Airport was no longer safe for air traffic, declaring it a target until the war on Gaza ends. This statement followed a missile attack that temporarily suspended air traffic at the airport for an hour. Ansarallah military spokesman Yahya Sari confirmed the operation was successful. On March 18th, Syed Abdul Malik al-Houthi, leader of the Ansarallah movement, reaffirmed their commitment to escalating their operations against Israel. In a message to the Palestinian people, he emphasized, "You are not alone," and underscored that there is no alternative to bearing responsibility in confronting and resisting the Israeli enemy. Al-Houthi warned that if Israel succeeded in eliminating the Palestinian cause, it would expand its actions to other countries without restraint. Moreover, on Sunday, Sari confirmed that the U.S. aircraft USS Harry Truman and other U.S. warships in the Red Sea were targeted by Ansarallah forces using missiles and drones. This was the fifth time Ansarallah had announced targeting the Truman carrier since intensive U.S. airstrikes began over a week ago. Ansarallah has continued its support for Gaza and its people. Yemen has recently reestablished a naval ban on shipments to Israeli ports when Israel blocked humanitarian aid entries into Gaza and refused to engage in the second phase of ceasefire negotiations. In response, the U.S. and the United Kingdom renewed their strikes on Sana'a, largely targeting civilian infrastructure, because that's what they do. These, Yemen, they target these military and infrastructure like that, but of course they go after people. Meanwhile, U.S. airstrikes continued in Yemen, hitting several areas, including the port of Al Salif, the Majzar district in Marib, and the Sahar and Kitaf districts in Saada. These raids also targeted Al Hudaydah International Airport in coordination with the U.S. Israeli Energy Minister Eli Cohen stated that there was full cooperation on these attacks. Shid had ordered a major offensive against Ansarallah in response to their continued strikes on Israeli sites and ships in the Red Sea, a direct retaliation for the continuation of Israel's war on Gaza. However, Ansarallah vowed not to relent in its support for Gaza, further escalating its operations despite U.S. and Israeli strikes. As of Thursday evening, reports indicated that U.S. airstrikes had killed 79 people and wounded over 100, including women and children, with Ansarallah vowing to continue its actions until the war on Gaza ends. So, in other words, they'll be fighting basically forever, because the war on Gaza is probably never going to stop until Gaza is completely eliminated. That's the goal. Keep calling them Hamas till the cows come home. Eradicate the whole people. Get them out, whatever. And then beachfront property, right? And you got all those the oil and gas underneath Gaza too. You know, that's the goal. Meanwhile, speaking of Hamas, senior Hamas officials killed in new Israeli strike on Gaza. I believe these are the gentlemen here. At least 5 high-ranking Hamas officials were killed in recent Israeli strikes, including Mohammed al-Jmazi, a member of the political office, and several members of his family, including his grandchildren, according to Sputnik. They were inside his home in Gaza City when it was hit by an airstrike, according to Hamas sources and relatives cited by Reuters. Mahmoud Abu Watfa, the Director General of the Hamas Interior Ministry, who oversaw the Hamas police force, and Issam al-Dialis, the Commander of Internal Security, were also among those that were killed, according to Ynet or Ynet. Israel bombs Gaza Nasser Hospital again, killing patients. Oh, hospital, Hamas. They sound the same, right? Motherfuckers. At least 5 people were killed and several others wounded when an Israeli airstrike targeted Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, southern Gaza, on Sunday night. The attack destroyed a large section of the hospital, forcing the evacuation of an entire department, according to Gaza's health ministry. The Israeli military admitted to carrying out the bombing, justifying it by claiming it was aimed at terrorists. But of course, Among those killed was Ismail Barhom, a senior Hamas political figure who was receiving treatment at the hospital for wounds sustained in an earlier Israeli strike. Hamas denounced the attack as a cowardly Zionist assassination and accused Israel of deliberately targeting Palestinian leaders, civilians, and Gaza's already devastated healthcare system. Airstrikes have repeatedly hit hospitals across Gaza, leaving many unable to function. Rights groups and legal experts have condemned these attacks as flagrant violations of international law. There's a thing right there.
الآن قصف الطابق الثاني في مجمع ناصر الطبي قسم الاستقبال. قصف الآن في مجمع ناصر الطبي.
The fucking hospital, y'all. Again. Just there. Palestinian civil defense crews said they had extinguished a large fire caused by the bombing. Meanwhile, Israel has intensified its assault on Khan Yunis, launching relentless airstrikes since it broke the ceasefire on March 18th, killing hundreds. This is not the first time Israel has attacked Nasser Hospital. From February through April 2024, Israeli forces besieged the medical complex, turning it into a site of mass killing. In early February, medical staff reported that Israeli snipers were shooting at them inside the hospital, while dozens of civilians were killed just outside. All terrorists, even the hospital is a terrorist. UN officials overseeing evacuations at the time described Nasser Hospital as a place of death. When Israeli forces withdrew in April, Palestinian rescue workers uncovered a mass grave containing more than 300 bodies. A civil defense official said that some of the corpses bore signs of torture. Among those killed during the siege were women, children, and medical workers. Do you sense a pattern? Palestinians who sought shelter in a hospital only to be met with Israeli bombs and bullets. On Sunday alone, Israeli airstrikes across Gaza killed at least 46 people, with most of the deaths reported in Khan Yunis and in Rafah. So there you go. And the hits keep coming, literally, in Gaza. More people dying, women and children. And this is just going to keep on going until, America can stop this. They could stop this. For one thing, you cut the funding to Israel, they can't do dick, because right now their economy is shit, and they're not going to be able to buy weapons on their own. And two, there's just too many people propagandized in that country for them to actually do it themselves. There's a threat of a civil war, but not for the reasons that you would think. It's mostly because who wants to be more evil? This group or this group? It's kind of one of those things. An official milestone has been passed out while all this is going on, as the official death count in Gaza passes 50,000. Of course, the unofficial count is probably double that. People under the rubble, unaccounted for. The number of confirmed Palestinians killed in the Israeli onslaught has surpassed 50,000. This is from antiwar.com. Kyle Anzalone. The number produced by the Gaza Health Ministry is considered a low count by international observers. According to the numbers released by the Gaza Health Ministry on Sunday, over 50,021 Palestinians have been killed, over the 113,000 wounded since October 7th. Of the 50,000 dead, 14,500 are children. So almost a third are children. Number of Palestinians killed by Israel has surged in the past week as Tel Aviv broke a ceasefire and hostage exchange. We saw less fighting in Gaza and the return of 30 Israeli hostages in recent weeks. The deal was slated to continue into phase 2 when the remainder of the captives would have been released by Hamas. Since breaking the ceasefire last week, Israel has killed at least 670 Palestinians, including hundreds of children. Israeli forces are targeting Palestinian medical facilities, as we told you there, with the hospital in Khan Yunis. On Friday, Israel used explosives to flatten Gaza's lone cancer treatment facility. On Sunday, Israel bombed the emergency unit of Nasser Medical Complex, as we told you, killing at least 5. They bombed the cancer treatment facility because Israel is the cancer that they're talking about. The death toll reported by the health ministry is an official count of Palestinians killed and who had their remains brought to a hospital or morgue. The count does not include the 11,000 missing Gazans who are presumed to be dead and their bodies buried under the rubble, or just plain disappeared. Last summer, the British medical journal The Lancet published a study arguing the true death toll could exceed 186,000. Applying a conservative estimate of 4 indirect deaths per 1 direct death to the 37,396 deaths reported at the time, it's not implausible to estimate that up to 186,000 or even more deaths could be attributed to the current conflict in Gaza. A second study published in The Lancet earlier this year concluded that life expectancy in Gaza had nearly dropped by half, from 75.5 to just over 40 during the Israeli onslaught. To put that in perspective, that's probably what the life expectancy was of people during the dark ages, right? In September, 99 American healthcare workers who volunteered in Gaza estimated the death toll to be at least 118,000. And those numbers are going to climb, right? When are they going to be able to get, to these loved ones that are, you got to think about it. I mean, just think if like half your family is missing, right? That they could possibly be under rubble. They could be somewhere else. You just don't know. You have to put yourself in their shoes to actually even try to come close to fathoming the shit that these people are going through. Meanwhile, all the houses, some bad stuff going on for old Bibi. Infighting in the Israeli regime as Netanyahu ousts top officials. Look at him. It looks like he's trying to take a shit. Or he's trying to take a Trump. A dump Trump. Come on, don't be like this. Tens of thousands of Israeli settlers have joined anti-Netanyahu protests in recent days as a former Supreme Court Chief Justice has warned of civil war. We don't need your civil war. Israeli Prime Minister Shithead McGee announced last week he was firing Ronan Bar, the head of the Shin Bet Internal Security Service, citing a crisis of confidence sparked by the failures to prevent Hamas's 23 attacks. Netanyahu's government has also launched a process to dismiss the Attorney General, accusing her of obstructing its agenda. That's according to AP. The move comes as the Shin Bet is investigating a possible infiltration of Netanyahu's office by an Arab country, and as Netanyahu is on trial for corruption, they are setting up a showdown between Netanyahu and the judiciary that is deepening divisions in Israel and could set off upheaval at a time when Israel is bogged down by war. Netanyahu's government launched a sweeping overhaul of the judiciary in early 2023, a process that touched off mass protests. Critics said the overhaul would undermine the regime's delicate system of checks and balances by granting too much power to fuckface. He and his governing coalition argued the judiciary had become more overly interventionist and was blocking its legislative agenda. Opponents also criticized Fuckhead for promoting the changes while on trial for corruption. They say a strong and independent judiciary is a necessary safeguard against authoritarian rule. Hamas's October 7th attacks, which sparked the war in Gaza, paused the overhaul, but it opened up new divisions in the occupying regime over who shouldered blame for not preventing the Hamas attack. Dipshit has sidestepped accepting responsibility, seeking instead to point a finger at the heads of the military and the Shin Bet. He has long blamed the deep state, for wanting people to topple his rule. In a surprise announcement last week, Netanyahu said he was dismissing Bar, sparking mass protests by critics who said the move would undermine Israel's state institutions and was meant as punishment for the Shin Bet's investigation into Netanyahu's office or to derail it entirely. Fuckery inside. See, all these egos and all this paranoia and shit. The West is on the decline and Israel is probably on their way out. I don't think that's why anybody hasn't blatantly attacked Israel yet. They're waiting for Israel to implode and then they could just come in and not have to worry about too many deaths because Israel just basically just kind of, oh no. But, you know, they still have enough power, the Israeli Security Cabinet, and as they approve plans for mass ethnic cleansing of Gaza. Israeli Security Cabinet on Sunday approved the creation of new Defense Ministry Directorate tasked with ethnically cleansing Palestinians from the Gaza Strip under the guise of voluntary emigration. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz, or in Israel he's just called Katz, euphemistically called the new agency the Voluntary Emigration Bureau for Gaza residents interested in relocating to third countries, and claimed it will operate in accordance with international law. He then paused for the camera with a straight face and then broke out in laughter and said, "Nah, I'm just fucking with you." However, given Israel's incessant flouting of international law, Israeli Prime Minister Shithead McGee is a fugitive from the ICC, and the ICJ is hearing a genocide case against the country. Critics excoriated Katz's claims. In reality, there is nothing voluntary about the program the Netanyahu government is implementing, wrote World Socialist website editor Andre Damon. The population of Gaza is to be forced out of their ancestral homeland through deliberate mass starvation and mass killings by the IDF. Yep, that's what's happening. Here's a whole lot of Jewish writing there for you if you like that sort of thing. Katz also said the new directorate would be run in accordance with the vision of fuckhead shitburger Donald Trump, who last month said that the U.S. would take over Gaza after emptying the strip of its approximately 2.1 million Palestinians and transform the coastal enclave into the Riviera of the Middle East. After doubling down on his proposal, Trump then attempted to gaslight the world by directly contradicting his previous remarks when he said earlier this month that nobody is expelling any Palestinians. What? That's just crazy talk. By then, Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich had declared that the so-called Trump plan was taking shape in coordination with the U.S. administration. However, leaders of Egypt and Jordan, where Trump has proposed sending Gazans, vehemently opposed the plan. A counter-proposal issued by Egypt and other Arab nations, which involves rebuilding Gaza without forcibly displacing its residents, has the support of the 57-member Organization of Islamic Cooperation and nations including China, Germany, the UK, France, and Italy. The reconquest of Gaza is a longtime goal of Israel's far right, which since October 7, 2023, and subsequent obliteration of the Strip, has moved to put its recolonization plans into action. What is this? Middle East. This is from Middle East Monitor. Israeli Colonel, Hamas is not the issue. Gaza's people are. See? It's not even about Hamas anymore. It's the fucking people. The population of Gaza are barbaric riffraff. The only solution is Trump's vision. National security expert and colonel in the Israeli Army's Reserve Force, Gabi Saboni, called for the ethnic cleansing of Gaza during a panel programmee. And it's a program with the M-E on the end, so you know it's foreign. Or unless you are foreign, then it's just domestic. October 7th changed history as a result of the brutal massacre. The Gazan Arabs had lost their rights to be here forever. They'll not stay here. Daniela Weiss, co-founder of the extremist settler movement Nachala, said during an October 24th conference on the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, attended by Smotrich and numerous other Israeli lawmakers. I went to Nachala one year. Man, it's just overpriced. You didn't ever want to go there. Each of you will witness how Jews go to Gaza and Arabs will disappear from Gaza, Weiss added. The modern state of Israel was founded largely through the ethnic cleansing of more than 750,000 Palestinians, sometimes accomplished via massacres and death marches. The majority of Gaza's population today are survivors and descendants of Palestinians forced from their homeland to make way for Jewish immigrants in the post-World War II era. Palestinians call the mass forced displacement of 1948 the Nakba, or catastrophe, and far-right Israelis today threaten to carry out a new Nakba to finish the job, as Smotrich and others have said. Critics, including Israeli troops, have claimed that the IDF is carrying out the so-called General's Plan, a blueprint for the starvation and ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from northern Gaza. Since October 2023, Israel has enforced what former Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, who is also wanted by the ICC for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity, called a complete siege of Gaza, a blockade which has exacerbated deadly starvation and illness in the Strip. This is from Samir Moyedin. The General's Plan is being fully implemented in all of Gaza, not just the north. Israel is liquidating the ghetto with the full backing of Canada and the U.S. This is what ethnic cleansing looks like under bombardment and starvation. And there's those people there. On Sunday, the Gaza Health Ministry said, yes, we already told you that this passed 50,000 on the death toll. Yeah, so, and then it goes on to talk about the death toll there. So, yeah, and they're not even hiding this shit anymore, folks. Denver, good to see you. It's almost like October 7th was the most fucking convenient non-occurrence of all fucking time for Zionist assholes like Bibi Milikowski. Yes. You're in contract to sell the U.S. to Greenland. Nice. I hope you get a nice piece of the action there. You know, nice finder's fee. I'll be the United States of Greenland. I'll be down with that. I'd love to go to Greenland, actually. Although it's mostly ice. So it's kind of, and Iceland is mostly green, which is, I don't know who names these countries. So all this shit happening in Gaza scaring the fuck out of the UN. No surprise there. UN to reduce footprint in Gaza, citing Israeli attacks on staff. The UN announced on March 24th, which was yesterday, it would reduce its footprint in the Gaza Strip after an Israeli tank strike hit one of its compounds last week, killing one staffer and wounding 5 others. In a statement Monday, UN Secretary General spokesman Stefan Dujarric said that based on the information currently available, the strikes on the UN guest house were caused by an Israeli tank. As a result, Dujarric said the UN has taken the difficult decision to reduce the organization's footprint in Gaza even as humanitarian needs soar. He added that the UN is not leaving Gaza, but would withdraw 1/3 of its approximately 100 international staffers from the Strip. Moreover, 5 staff members of the UN Palestinian Relief Agency, that's UNRWA, were killed last week, the agency's Commissioner General Felipe Lazzarini said on Thursday. In the past few days, another 5 UNRWA staff have been confirmed killed, bringing the death toll to 284. They were teachers, doctors, and nurses serving the most vulnerable, he said in a statement posted on Twitter. Nearly 4 weeks ago, Israel cut off all food, fuel, medicine, and other supplies to Gaza to collectively punish Palestinian civilians during ceasefire negotiations with Hamas. Last week, Israel unilaterally ended the ceasefire reached in January, launching renewed bombardments that killed 400 Palestinians in just one day. On Sunday, Palestinian officials said, again, that the death toll has passed 50,000. The ongoing block and renewed bombing have caused malnutrition to spread, The Guardian reported on Monday. There has been no sign that Israel will open entry points to allow essential aid to flow or ease the new offensive in Gaza, the British newspaper wrote. Only 6 days of, this is from Dropsite News, only 6 days of flour left to distribute in Gaza, according to the UN. Israel has blocked all humanitarian commercial aid to Gaza for about 20 days, longer than the initial siege from October 7th through the 21st in 2023. Aid officials said distributions would be reduced gradually if possible, while the provision of community kitchens that feed about 1 million people would get progressively more difficult. At some point, we will just run out and things will get desperate. Even if we had supplies, it would be very difficult to distribute them because the security environment means we can't operate, said one UN official based in Gaza. 6 out of 23 bakeries operated by the UN World Food Program have already closed due to a lack of cooking gas, while prices of food in shops and markets have skyrocketed. The price of potatoes has increased by 5 times since Israel reimposed the blockade 4 weeks ago. Prices of cooking gas cylinders have increased fourfold. It's very clear that people are underweight, the population is very young, and children need nutritious food, said Kamis Ilesi, a senior consultant doctor in Gaza City. Feroze Sidwa, a U.S.-based volunteer emergency doctor in the Strip, said that Palestinians have suffered from over 18 months of Israel's on-and-off again siege blockade. We see very clearly that everyone has lost weight. I can see my surgical incisions are not healing well, he said. Yeah. So it's going to continue over there. And like I said, we knew Trump was going to be a lot worse on Israel as far as like their motivations as to what the Biden administration was doing. The Biden administration was funding it, of course. But that's the thing. That's the face the Democrats say, look, we're trying to help. We're trying to be, but our hands are tied. And they're the ones tying their own fucking hands. Jacqueline Jacques, one of my pals. Good to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, 10,000 years ago, Iceland used to be covered in ice. Yeah, everything in the northern hemisphere. It was at the older Dryas. I don't know if that's what it was called. Then there was the younger Dryas, and that's when you got the biblical floods. Crazy stuff. But we turn our attention to Iran, or Iran, as some people like to call it. As NSA Waltz demands Iran give up entire nuclear program, including civilian enrichment, to which the Iranians said, oh, Americans and their humor. This is from Jason Ditz over there at antiwar.com. Jason tends to put a little bit more commentary into his stories. I don't mind. I like a little emotional involvement, especially when it affects you naturally like that. While continuing to closely tie the recent U.S. attacks on the Houthis in Yemen to Iran, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz confirmed that the Trump administration is demanding full dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program, including its capacity to enrich uranium for civilian use. Waltz made the comments on CBS's Face the Nation, and when asked what full dismantlement meant, and to clarify the distinction between it and the verification deal the U.S. had with Iran before Trump pulled out of it in 2018, he made it clear this is far broader, covering everything, including enrichment, weaponization, and strategic missile programs. Iran's enrichment program, which is under IAEA monitoring, has no military component in the first place. Enrichment was purely for making fuel rods for the Bushehr nuclear power plant along Iran's coast and for making somewhat higher enriched fuel for its medical isotope reactor. Iran has a long history of having a substantial nuclear medicine program and supplied its own isotopes for that. Look at that. Hey, fist pound for genocide. What up, bro? The long-abandoned nuclear deal was meant to give Iran a design to produce isotopes without 20% enriched uranium through a heavy water reactor. Like most of the promises to Iran under the deal, this was never honored, and Iran is left with the old research reactor. Higher levels of enrichment were also done to try to encourage new negotiations, though Iran promised the IAEA that they would not go above 60% levels, and weapons-grade uranium is a minimum of 90%. Waltz's new demand is not that Iran goes back down to 20% or anything. It's to stop enrichment entirely. They want it to go down to 0%. It's unclear in the context if Iran is even allowed to keep its power plant, though without the ability to enrich uranium to make their own fuel, it would be effectively useless in fairly short order. Of course, yes. take out their power sources. Beyond that, Waltz demanded Iran scrap its weaponization program, which will be a challenge because Iran does not have one. Hey, you stop doing that thing. I'm not doing that thing. Well, so I guess it would be easy, really, if you think about it. And U.S. intelligence assessments have repeatedly said Iran hasn't tried to make such a weapon, though such assessments never seem to inform the content of U.S. demands. He also demanded Iran get rid of its entire strategic missile program, which, since they haven't even attempted to create nuclear warheads, would exclusively impact conventional weapons in Iran's arsenal. Though presented as something to do with nuclear dismantlement, it is effectively unrelated to the case of these missiles. Waltz confirmed that the U.S. had received multiple responses from Iran regarding the demands, which were initially submitted through a letter. A letter. He declined to discuss what the responses were in any way, but said there was an ongoing back and forth and that all options were on the table. He further vowed Iran would face consequences if they didn't submit to the demands. Consequences. The latest U.S. demands are by far the furthest they've gone in demands for nuclear concessions from Iran, but they once again appear founded in the same false narrative that the program has a military component, even though the U.S. intelligence has consistently confirmed it does not. The refusal to disclose what Iran's response to the demands has been so far is likely based in part on avoiding talking about how Iran doubtless reiterated that they don't have such a program to give up. Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has publicly responded in part by rejecting the idea of direct talks with Fuckhead on the matter. Khamenei has previously expressed openness to direct talks with the U.S., but since Trump was the one who tore up the previous nuclear deal, he has said that there's no value in talking with a party they can't count on to fulfill their commitments. Yeah, I know. Talk to the Russians about that. 2014. Russia issued a statement on Friday which appears to reject the basis of the U.S. demands, saying Iran has every right to have a peaceful nuclear program for civilian purposes. Western European nations have previously given lip service to past U.S. demands to restrict Iran, but it's unclear if they will go along with the idea that Iran isn't allowed to enrich uranium to civilian levels. Beyond Israel, the Trump administration might be alone, given the severity of this latest demand. Right? They're not going to give up shit. Iran's just like, bitch, please, with your dumb shit. Get the fuck out of here. Right? Like, even if they did, they said, okay, let's shut it down. Then they wouldn't have any power plants because all of it's based on nuclear power. And then, that would weaken them. That would weaken their infrastructure and make it easier to bomb or perhaps even invade. But, so Iran sees through that transparent sheet of paper and it's just like, no, bitch, we ain't doing this shit. You're so stupid. And the rest of the world's just like, what are you, high? I'd be like, wait, even high people have better ideas than that. Come on. Meanwhile, Trumpy invokes wartime emergency powers again in order to prioritize U.S. mineral and industrial production. So Trumpy has faced more than a few controversies. This is a back-to-back dits, if you like that sort of thing. Trumpy's faced more than a few controversies with his broad use of executive orders since retaking office in January. Looks like a new issue may be stirring up with one of his most recent, invoking wartime emergency powers to dramatically increase U.S. mineral output, and also citing the increase in industrial production with those minerals as part of the process. The EO signed Thursday cites Section 301 of the U.S. Legal Code and delegates substantial authority to several departments, including the Department of Defense, to prioritize increasing domestic mineral production to the maximum possible extent. The order explicitly cites uranium, gold, copper, and potash as minerals to be prioritized for mining purposes. It also empowers the National Energy Dominance Council. Ooh, Dominance Council. I was a member of a Dominance Council. I had to bring my own GIMP suit. I'm like, man, you guys are cheap. To pick out any more minerals that they think are important, some media reports suggest coal would be among those added. There are also They are also to ask miners for ideas to eliminate regulatory bottlenecks. In other words, let's get this out and break some laws. And safety, pussies. Picking minerals and lifting regulations is just the start. Then the Secretary of the Interior is to identify all federal lands that have those minerals on them, and then revise land use policy to prioritize mineral production and mining on those lands. So if your favorite federal state park has gold underneath it, your federal state park is fucked. It'll be turned into a mine. And then we'll have the Baron Harkonnen world. Geedy Prime. That's what they're trying to turn Earth into Geedy Prime. The order includes a requirement that any federal agency giving loans to businesses stop requiring them to comply with Regulation S-K Part 1300. This regulation requires disclosures of several factors in a mining operation to qualify for a loan, including whether the company's business model is economically viable and whether the mining company has any experience in operating such mines. Experience. Just dig a hole. Those disclosure requirements are to be ignored under this executive order so long as the loan is expected to increase domestic mineral production. It also empowers the Secretary of Defense to create a dedicated fund to fund the increase in domestic mineral production. That gets us to the production of a lot of minerals, apparently with gold and copper a big focus. It doesn't end there, though, as the executive order defines mineral production not just as the process of getting the minerals out of the ground, but using them for manufacturing. The order specifically includes the domestic production of certain derivative goods that are to be counted within, and includes things seemingly unrelated to national security, like smartphones and electric vehicles. Electric vehicles, you say. Since gold is used in contacts for electronics, it could include nearly anything that the administration wants. The Small Business Administration is further ordered to submit a plan to enhance financing of new businesses involved in any aspect of mineral production, which includes the manufacturing of final goods as well as intermediaries. It envisions them creating recommendations for legislation that would enhance private-public capital activities to this end. The executive order was quickly and loudly endorsed by the National Mining Association, of course, who declared it as a bold way to counter China in the dominance of global mineral production. The focus on smartphones, semiconductors, and electric vehicles is also likely representative of this order being in part about competing with China. But Canada is clearly also part of this, as the potash production is mentioned quite early in the order. The U.S. imports over 90% of it used annually, and the overwhelming majority of that comes from Canada. This has fueled concerns that the Trump tariff plans against Canada could unduly burden American farmers, as there are few alternative international sources for potash anywhere near the size of Canada's production. Whether opening up federal land will do anything about that is unclear, but doubtful. The U.S. has relatively little potash to mine, and curbing mining regulations will likely do little to meaningfully increase production. Certainly that production will not be increased to anywhere near the amount U.S. farmers use annually. Does it really matter, though? Because isn't Bill Gates buying up all the farmland? Maybe they should just be dealing with him directly. Cut out the middle person. So they're finally having talks, I guess, to try to solve this Ukraine conflict, this war that's going on. So Russia and the U.S. were in Saudi Arabia, and they wrapped up their session yesterday, I believe. Talks between Russian and American officials focused on a settlement of the Ukraine conflict and maritime security in the Black Sea have concluded in the Saudi capital of Riyadh after more than 12 hours. A joint statement on the talks is expected to be released today, RIA Novosti and TASS reported, citing sources. The Russian Foreign Ministry released a short video showing the country's negotiating team leaving the talks. The Russian-American consultations have concluded, the ministry said, without providing further details. Meanwhile, a White House source told Reuters that a positive announcement was expected in the near future, following progress made in the Riyadh talks. Grigory Karasin, a veteran diplomat and chairman of the Parliamentary International Relations Committee, who is part of the Russian delegation, described the Riyadh talks as creative but also technical. And there they are right there, posing for the album cover. Look at this guy in the back. The photobomb. What's up, kid? You know I'm gonna get up in there too. Not every negotiation yields a high-profile document or agreement, Carrison told reporters earlier in the day during a break in the negotiations. What matters is maintaining communication and understanding each other's positions. In this regard, we are succeeding. The talks primarily revolved around maritime security in the Black Sea and the prospects of resurrecting the Black Sea Initiative, popularly known as the Grain Deal, which was originally mediated by the UN and Turkey. Russia withdrew from the deal in July 2023, citing the West's failure to meet its end of the deal. If you recall the original version of the deal, there were significant obligations made to our side that were never fulfilled. This remains part of the agenda, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said earlier in the day. What? The West fucking over the not, living up to their promises? Nobody's heard of that. Shithead has floated the idea of revisiting the deal as part of his effort to reach a broader truce between Moscow and Kiev. I'm not calling it Kiev. Peskov explained. So that's going on, and we'll have more details on that if they come out by Friday's show. So stay tuned for that. A little show tease for you. I say that, and it's probably not going to happen. So I feel like the West. I'm making promises I have no intention of keeping. Where are we at here? Oh, okay. Yeah, we're humming along here, doing very good. How's everybody doing? Let's take a little break here and say hi to folks here. We got Teresa in Denver over there on Rockfin. Good to see you, my friends. Got our lurkers on Rumble. It's crazy. Rumble is like, you don't think anybody's watching, and then like a couple days later, I'll check, and like 100-something people viewed the things. It's like they don't watch the live show. They wait for it to be unlive, and I don't know how that works. Yeah, so... but I love my Rumble people. They're nice. We're up to 180 subscribers on there now, so ticking away the moments that make up the long day. Oh, so good. And I got fake strawberry Pop-Tarts. They're Pop-Tarts, not Pop-Tarts, if you know what I'm saying. Meanwhile, down under, throw a shrimp on the Barbie, but not a tank. Australia's tank deployment to Ukraine in doubt as U.S. halts military aid to Eastern European country. As we talk about the talks there. Australia's deployment of its U.S.-made Abrams tanks to Ukraine faces difficulties as Washington halted military aid to Ukraine. The Australian Defense Ministry said the tank's ongoing transfer to Ukraine remains complex, according to the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, otherwise known as Dollar Tree ABC, while Prime Minister Anthony Albanese noted that getting the tanks into Ukraine is a difficult task. Tanks, but no, you're welcome. In fairness, I can't catch all the live shows unless I wake up at stupid o'clock. I know. Well, they see you're across the pond there, dear. It's fine. There's no worries. As long as you watch the show, I don't care when you watch it. That's up to you. Australia last year announced plans to send 49 of its aging American-made M1A1 Abrams tank fleet to Ukraine. I love how these countries just give them their shit. They're just like, here, take this shit. As part of a $245 million military support package aimed at strengthening Ukraine's defense against Russia. According to Dollar Tree ABC, the ministry in a statement mentioned that it's collaborating closely with partners, including the U.S., to facilitate the prompt delivery of the tanks to Ukraine. A media outlet alleged that the logistics hub in the eastern Polish city of Rzeszów, about 100 kilometers from Poland-Ukraine border, is now disputed with the U.S. decision to freeze aid. These fucking names. Last week, Polish Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski said the supply of American arms to Ukraine through Poland has returned to previous levels in the U.S. military base near Sikorsky, who also said Kiev was receiving its normal supply of weapons destined for Ukraine after the U.S. announced it would lift a ban on American military aid and intelligence sharing to Ukraine as part of ceasefire talks in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, between U.S. and Ukrainian delegations. The talks resulted in Ukraine agreeing to a 30-day ceasefire proposal. However, the Australian media outlet alleged that several U.S. military logistic units have recently pulled out from the hub, Giggity, where Australia's 49 American-made Abrams tanks are set to arrive after being shipped to Europe. It also reported that Ukraine's Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, you gotta know when to rust 'em, know when to trust 'em, will pay a visit to the Pacific nation to discuss aid efforts for his country. Yes, indeed. Hello. We're not doing this? Okay. There we go. So we mentioned Greenland earlier, right? So Greenland's not too keen on the idea of becoming a 51st state or a 52nd state or any kind of state of the United States. Greenland's prime minister denounces aggressive pressure by the United States. Mute Egeti? I guess that's a person's name. This is J.D. Vance's wife, Osha. What's her name? Usha. Usher. The Prime Minister of Greenland has hit out at the U.S. following the announcement that Second Lady Usha Vance and senior American officials will visit the island on Thursday. The administration of U.S. presidential fuckface shithead McGee, eat shit and die motherfucker, is pursuing control over the autonomous Danish territory and its resources. Mute B. Ageti described the upcoming trip, reportedly involving National Security Advisor Michael Waltz and Energy Secretary Chris Wright, as part of a very aggressive American pressure aimed at taking over our country over our heads. You know, for someone named Mute, they have a lot to say. In an interview with local newspapers on Sunday, Ageti criticized Western nations for inadequately opposing the U.S., stating, "Our allies in the international community feel like hiding in a small corner and almost whisper their support, which has no effect." Jens Fredrik Nielsen, leader of the Democratic Party, which recently won parliamentary elections, described the scheduling of the visit during coalition talks a gesture of disrespect. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said her government viewed the trip within the context of the Trump administration's territorial claims on Greenland, adding that Copenhagen's cooperation with the U.S. is conditional to the fundamental rules of sovereignty. To which Trump had to get a dictionary to look up sovereignty. He didn't understand what that was. VP J.D. Vance's wife will travel to Greenland with her son and a delegation of officials to explore historic sites and observe a dog race, as stated in her office's announcement on Sunday. Participants are excited to witness this monumental race and celebrate Greenlandic culture and unity, it added. Oh, and we want your minerals too. Don't forget your fucking minerals. Sorry. Giggity. Members of the Trump administration will conduct their own itinerary featuring a visit to the Pentagon's Pituffik Space Base. Trump's interest in Greenland stems from the island's strategic position near the Arctic and its potential natural resources. In the seed bank in Greenland too, or is that I think that might be in Iceland. There's like the big giant seed bank that's like has all the seeds of the world in there. So when there's an apocalypse, and there's gonna be, they'll be able to replant shit maybe if the soil's not irradiated too much. The U.S. administration has questioned the sovereignty of Canada, Denmark, and Panama, asserting that American national interests necessitate controlling their territories. Specifically regarding Greenland, the vice president claimed in February that Copenhagen is not doing its job and is not being a good ally to Washington. Come on! What do you got? Look, we just want Greenland. We just want your biggest territory. What the fuck's wrong with you? Why can't you guys be cool, man? If American interests require taking a more territorial interest in Greenland, that is what President Trump is going to do because he doesn't care about what the Europeans scream at us, he stated. No, of course they don't. What happened? Again? Why are you like this? What's up next? Oh, yeah, so the Pope was sick during our break. We didn't cover that, obviously, because we were on break. But Frankie is back in town. Pope Francis to return to the Vatican after a 5-week hospitalization. So here he is there. Whoa. More like Frankfurter. What the hell? You gotta lay off those cheeseburgers, Bob. Pope Francis is to return to his residence in the Vatican on Sunday after his doctor said that that was the best place for him to recover following a 5-week hospitalization for pneumonia. I know the P is silent, but not when I pee. It's very loud. The 88-year-old head of the Catholic Church was very happy to hear his health had improved sufficiently for him to leave the Gemelli Hospital in Rome, one of the doctors, Sergio Alfieri, said on Saturday. But the pontiff, who had part of one lung removed as a young man, still faced a recovery period of at least 2 months, Alfieri cautioned. Pope Francis was expected to be discharged from the hospital in the early afternoon. The Vatican said he was to make a blessing and wave at well-wishers outside the hospital shortly beforehand, just after midday local time, in what would be his first public appearance since February 14th. His hospitalization since that date was the longest of the Pope's reign and the fourth since his election in 2013. The increasingly fragile state of his health has spurred speculation about whether Francis could opt to step down and make way for a successor, as his predecessor, Benedict the 16th, had done. And he's still there. And I think that guy's still alive. Maybe they just like, hey, Benedict's German, right? So he'd be like, "And you can sit down now. I will take back over 9." That's probably not what he said. The Pope's doctor, speaking to the reporters at Gemelli Hospital on Saturday, said Francis was doing better. The Vatican on Wednesday had said he was now breathing without having to use an oxygen mask. But Alfieri said further progress will take place at his home because the hospital, even if it's seems strange, is the worst place to recover because it's where one can contract more of infections. Yeah, that's Italian. And then he had some Prego. What happened? The doctor said that on Sunday the Pope will leave and return to St. Martha's house in the Vatican, where Francis has his residential suite. I think it's Martha Stewart's house. However, Alfieri dismissed the possibility of Francis quickly getting back to his regular duties. Convalescence, by definition, is a period of rest. So it is clear that, okay, I'm not kidding. So it's clear that during the convalescent period, he will not be able to take on his daily usual appointments. I can't do an Italian accent that long. It gets a little annoying. It's kind of hard on the vocal cords, too, a little bit. Questions, therefore, remain over who might lead the busy schedule of religious events leading up to Easter, the holiest period in the Christian calendar. Live at the Civic Center, it's Easter with special guest Crocus. The Pope has missed the Angelus prayers normally recited by the Pontiff every Sunday for 5 straight weeks. On Monday, he probably just got AI to do it for him. He used his voice. On Monday, asked by reporters about the speculation of Francis resigning, Vatican Secretary of State Pietro Parolin replied, No, absolutely not. The short sentences I can do. It's that long shit. You can't do that. Catholics and others worldwide have been praying for the Pope's speedy recovery. Many have been leaving flowers, candles, and notes for Francis outside the Gemelli Hospital. At the most alarming stage of the Pope's hospitalization, he spent several weeks on assisted breathing with nasal tubes and an oxygen mask. Twice he went through very critical moments during which his life was in danger, but he remained conscious, his doctor said. He was only declared out of danger after a month of treatment in Gemelli Hospital. The pneumonia he suffered means that Francis will require physical re-education to recover use of his voice. When you suffer bilateral pneumonia, your lungs are damaged and your respiratory muscles are also strained, Alfieri said. It takes time for the voice to get back to normal. Although the Pope has not made a public appearance since February 14th, the Vatican on March 16th published a photo of him praying in a chapel in his hospital room. On March 6th, an audio recording of the Pope was released in which, speaking in a weak voice, he thanked the faithful praying for him. So, look who's back. It's Popey. Pope 2, Electric Boogaloo. Yeah, so the Pope coming back. And that's the thing. It's like, you say, well, how come he can't talk? You need air in your lungs to talk too. So like doing this show, it's a lot of talking. I have to, at the beginning of the sentence, and then the air goes away. So, meanwhile in Turkey, crazy shit going on in Turkey. Protests there. 9 journalists, over 1,000 protesters arrested in Turkey as anti-government unrest escalates. Turkish police detained 9 journalists during overnight protests against the arrest of Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, the Journalists Union of Turkey stated on March 24th, yesterday. An AFP staff photographer is among the detained journalists, the union said in a post on the tweeters. Turkey's Interior Ministry announced more than 1,133 people had been detained since protests began on March 19th, AFP reported. The journalists' arrests came as mostly peaceful anti-government protests were held for a 5th night in a row on Sunday in response to the detention of Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu last week. A Turkish court formally arrested İmamoğlu, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's biggest rival in the next presidential election, early on Sunday, ordering him jailed to face trial on corruption charges. During the demonstration in Istanbul, Sarakane district on Sunday, members of İmamoğlu's opposition Republican People's Party, CHP, called his arrest politicized and undemocratic while vowing to continue the protest until he's released. I don't want to play that because I think that flips over to Twitter. Fuck that. In response to calls for moderation from the protester, CHP parliamentarian Deniz Yücel, we sell seashells by the seashore, demanded moderation from the security forces. If a call for moderation is to be made, it should be made to the hundreds of thousands who defend democracy and do not accept the injustice, unlawfulness, and heartlessness that is being done, Yücel stated at the Sarakane district protest. He accused the police of using disproportionate force to subdue peaceful demonstrators, including women. The IDF train. Nice, just like NYPD. Protesters accused Erdogan of orchestrating İmamoğlu's arrest to remove him as a challenger in Turkey's next presidential election, currently scheduled for 2028. That's 3 years away. Get him now. Analysts speculate that Erdogan may call for an earlier election to allow himself to run for president once again. Because Erdogan has led Turkey for 22 years, Parliament would need to approve an earlier election, as he will have reached his term limit by the scheduled date. İmamoğlu's formal arrest came as his opposition Republican People's Party began voting to endorse him as its candidate, and I believe they did nominate him as their candidate for the 2028 presidential election. On Sunday, İmamoğlu told his followers on the tweeters to run to the ballot box. That's where I left my car keys. I invite my 86 million citizens to run to the ballot box and announce their struggle for democracy and justice to the entire world, he wrote. Last week, a university nullified İmamoğlu's diploma, citing alleged irregularities in his transfer from a private university in northern Cyprus 3 decades ago. The old college transcript. To run for president in Turkey, candidates must hold a university degree. İmamoğlu said he would challenge the decision. Turkey. More like Jive Turkey. Pope Vader. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, Indonesian students lead nationwide protests against controversial military law. We told you about that, how they want the military involved more in their government there. Indonesian students lead nationwide protests. So this is them there. What are they burning? Controversial changes allow active military officers to take up more government posts. There they are. New revisions hark back to days of Suharto's New Order military dictatorship. There you go. Good job, Arab News. So Indonesian students staged nationwide protests on Monday against a contentious revision to the military law that activists say threatens the nation's young democracy. Hundreds of demonstrators gathered at regional government offices in various Indonesian cities, including Batam, Kupang, Lampung, and Sukabumi. As well as the country's second largest city, Surabaya. A smaller group also turned up in front of the Parliament building in Jakarta. With most of them clad in black. Protesters held banners that read, "Return the military to the barracks and watch out! New order is right before our eyes." See, they got camera phones this time, kids. That's one of your biggest defenses against tyranny. Put it on camera. Activists have taken to the streets since Wednesday to protest against controversial amendments to the 2004 law on Indonesian armed forces, which aim to broaden the military's role beyond defense. Indonesia's House of Representatives unanimously passed the revisions on Thursday, allowing active military officers to take up more government posts, including the Attorney General's office, the Supreme Court, and the Coordinating Ministry for Political and Security Affairs. The changes also raised retirement ages by several years for most ranks. Highest-ranking four-star generals can now serve until 63, for example, up from 60. Puan Maharani, the Speaker of the lower house who led the vote in a plenary session, said the revised law would remain grounded in democratic values and principles, civilian supremacy, and human rights. Meanwhile, Defense Minister Jadfri Jansodiem, we're going to say that's the name, a former three-star Army general, said it will make the military more effective. In a speech after the bill was passed into law, he said the amendments were necessary because geopolitical changes and global military technology require the military to transform to face conventional and non-conventional conflicts. The revisions were proposed by allies of President Prabowo Subianto, who took office last October and served as a general under the dictator Suharto. Activists have warned that the move is a threat to Indonesia's democracy, which the nation gained in 1998 after 32 years of Suharto's New Order military dictatorship. The bill was not made with proper public consultation. It was rushed, kind of like here when you get like a 5,000-page bill and they only have like 20, a few hours to read it. Andreas Harsono, senior Indonesia researcher at Human Rights Watch, told Arab News, "This law elevates the threats to Indonesia's democracy as not only regressing, but going back to square one." He highlighted how youth protests erupted immediately across Indonesia, with students demanding the amendments to be canceled, as the revisions still have to be signed into law by Prabowo. "I'm pretty surprised to see their anger. It showed that these young people are not happy with the bigger roles of the military in non-security affairs," he said. No shit, Sherlock. What do you think they're protesting? That there's not enough coffee at Dunkin' Donuts? The fuck's wrong with you? I'm pretty surprised. When you hear "I'm pretty surprised," it means motherfuckers are out of touch with their people. Aki Madasari, Indonesian novelist and sociologist, said the law could be used as a legal tool to further expand military's involvement in businesses and jobs that have nothing to do with defense or military, which are reminiscent of Suharto's New Order regime. So in other words, they're trying to bring back Suharto's New Order regime without Suharto. It's New Order 2, The Secret of the Ooze. She told Arab News, "The immediate results will mean the further deterioration of Indonesia's democracy with less and less freedom of speech. But the nationwide protests, along with active social media campaigns across platforms, show that such dangers are not lost on some Indonesians." Indonesian youths, what's a youth? The Indonesian youths who have been exposed to cosmopolitanism and globally accepted values and are very aware of their rights and obligation, will continue to forge a resisting force against this growing authoritarianism and militarism under Prabowo Subianto, Maldasari said. And God love the youth, man. They are just like, you know what, you fucked over generations before, you're not going to fuck us over. Wish we could get more of that here. Over shit. What the hell? We're in a state of dangerous overshit or gross ecological dysfunction. Yeah, I'll buy that for $1. Well, the saga of South Korea and who the fuck's president or pre-em or whatever it is continues. As now South Korean court reinstates impeached Prime Minister Han Duck-soo as acting president. He's like, ta-da, I'm back, bitches. South Korea's constitutional court has reinstated impeached Prime Minister Han Duck-soo as acting president, the latest twist in the meandering political saga set off by the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol. The court's 8 justices voted 7-1 to dismiss Han's impeachment on Monday, restoring him to the country's highest office, while they separately consider the fate of Yoon, who was suspended from his duties after briefly imposing martial law last December. 5 of the court's judges found that there were not sufficient grounds to impeach Han, 75 years old, though the impeachment motion against him was valid. 2 justices ruled that the legislature's impeachment motion lacked legitimacy from the start, as it had been only backed by 192 of 300 lawmakers instead of a 2/3 majority. So they were 8 shy of a 2/3 majority. Had they had 8 other people, he'd probably be gone. After being appointed acting president following Yoon's impeachment on December 14th, Han was himself suspended. Suspended from his duties less than 2 weeks later over his refusal to appoint 3 more justices to the Constitutional Court. And there's some children there, or some young adults going, "Hey, you gotta fight for your right to whatever impeachment." Sorry, this show is getting weird today. Kill your egregiores. You got that right, motherfucker. We Gen X got double fucked. Yeah. No KY either. We had to raw dog it. I don't usually like using Politico, but this is the only source I found of this, so take it with a grain of salt if you'd like. As China trashes report, it would put peacekeeping troops in Ukraine. So the Chinese Foreign Ministry on Monday denied reports that Beijing could join a potential peacekeeping mission in Ukraine, spearheaded by EU leaders. I would like to emphasize that the reports in question are completely untrue, and China's position on the Ukraine crisis is consistent and clear, said Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun in a response to a journalist's question on the matter. China claims to be a neutral party in Russia's war on Ukraine, but maintains close economic and political ties with Moscow, including by supplying dual-use goods like body armor and drones. According to the German outlet Welt, which originally reported the story Saturday, anonymous Brussels diplomatic sources said that China's participation could potentially increase Russia's acceptance of peacekeeping forces in Ukraine. While the Russian President Vladimir Putin has totally rejected the idea of troops from NATO countries being stationed in Ukraine, the participation of Beijing in the mission could bolster the prospects for a successful peacekeeping effort. The peacekeeping mission is being pushed by a coalition of the willing. Before we went into Iraq with Bush Jr., not a lot of people were going along with it, but there was just like some random countries like, I don't know, Liechtenstein, that country that's sinking under the ocean. I can't remember the name of it. So they were called the Coalition of the Willing. We got 22 countries. We got the Coalition of the Willing, which sounds like I'll do it, but do we really got to do it? That's what I hear. Coalition of. I'm willing to do it, but I really don't want to if we don't have to. So the peacekeeping mission being pushed by a coalition of the willing is an initiative of Britain and France aiming to unite allied European governments to protect Ukraine after any peace deal is reached. Canada and Turkey could also join the group, because why not? You need Canadian bacon and a little turkey in your diet to make things right. You know what I'm saying? Finally, in our news block here, we go to Taiwan, where you can tie one on at the local bars. Taiwan deploys artillery in urban areas. Well, if Israel attacks, that's not going to help, because that's the first place they're going to hit. Hemp car over on the Rockfin. Oh, the Maldives. Yes, I almost said Maltese, but that's the Falcon. The Maldives. Thank you, Hemp car. See, you have such a very knowledgeable group of people that watch this show. I appreciate you. Isn't that what Keith Keir Starmer, he hates being called Keith, calls the British forces being promised to Ukraine? Yeah, the coalition of the willing. The coalition of the, if I have to, sure, twist my arm, maybe. As tensions with Beijing persist, Taiwan has begun showcasing artillery exercises in urban areas, signaling a shift in its defense posture influenced by lessons from the ongoing war in Ukraine. Recent drills by the Republic of China Army demonstrated how artillery systems could be concealed and operated within industrial zones in and around cities such as Taoyuan. The decision to disperse forces and weaponry across civilian infrastructure reflects a focus on survivability and mobility in the face of a possible Chinese assault. Go Start, my man. What's up? Namaste. Had to check out T-Lab Tuesday with Ryan on AM Wake Up. I didn't know he could sing. Oh, yeah. In fact, we play his music on The Secret Show. He's a good singer, good guitarist. I think he plays guitar. Taiwanese officials have not released detailed information about the drills, but media reports and open source data suggest that Taiwan's 6th Army Corps, 21st Artillery Command, and deployed M109A2 self-propelled howitzers near the Machinery Company complex situated northwest of Taoyuan City along the Zhongshan Expressway. According to these reports, Taiwanese forces established a command and communication post at the site and conducted simulated fire missions aimed towards the coastal area between Zhuhai fishing port and Taipei port, an area seen as a potential landing zone in a cross-strait conflict scenario. The use of camouflage in civilian infrastructure for military positioning echoes Ukrainian tactics, where dispersion and deception have played a central role in defending against Russian strikes on concentrated military targets. Military analysts say this strategy could complicate targeting efforts for an adversary and increase the survivability of key assets in the early hours of an invasion. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense has repeatedly emphasized the need to enhance readiness and adapt to evolving threats. While it has not confirmed the specific details of this operation, Taiwan continues to signal its intent to defend against aggression by adapting its doctrine, training, and posture to reflect lessons learned from modern conflicts. So there you go. That's your newsy news. The coalition of fuck off, you nasally voiced twat. I'm not fighting your fucking war. Oh, Jacqueline, I'm so glad you're here. That's just good stuff. Yeah, the coalition of fuck, even just the coalition of fuck off. that works too, right? So, in propaganda, there's several tools that are used to either change the narrative or stop the narrative altogether that you don't want. And one of those is by murdering a bunch of motherfuckers. What? That's what happens.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets they are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Al Jazeera's Hassam Shabat killed by Israel in latest targeted assassinations. Press, I don't think you should put press on there anymore. I don't think that's helping protect you. Put IDF on there, and then you might be okay. Separate Israeli attacks in the Gaza Strip yesterday killed 2 journalists, including Al Jazeera correspondent Hossam Shabat, who was killed in northern Gaza when an airstrike in Beit Lahia targeted his car. Shabat insisted to continue reporting amid the very horrific and unprecedented escalation taking place in northern Gaza. The Israeli military targeted his vehicle before any prior warning, Al Jazeera correspondent Tarek Abu Azum said. Earlier, the Israeli army killed Palestine Today journalist Mohammed Mansour in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. Abu Azum said that Mansour was killed by Israel in his house alongside his wife and his son without any prior warning. Yeah, the greatest democracy in the Middle East. The 2 journalists were among 51 Palestinians killed in Israeli attacks on Monday, medical sources told Al Jazeera. At least 208 journalists have been killed in Israeli attacks since October 2023, according to the government media office in Gaza. In a statement, the media office said it strongly condemns the targeting, killing, and assassination of Palestinian journalists by the Israeli occupation. You condemn it? Well, yeah, I would think so. I think that would go without saying. Adding, we hold the Israeli occupation, the U.S. administration, and the countries participating in the genocide, such as the UK, Germany, and France, fully responsible for committing this heinous crime. In November 2024, Hossam Shabat was injured by an Israeli airstrike after the occupation forces had publicly threatened to assassinate him 1 month before. The 23-year-old journalist had traveled to the site of a nearby strike on a house in order to cover the news when he was caught by the second blast. 23 years old, such a baby. Upon arriving at the house packed with terrified people, I could hear their desperate screams for help from the second floor, Shabat wrote in a post on social media. The moment I stepped inside, the house was bombed again, and dismembered body parts of the wounded flew around me, he went on to say. Rubble crashed down on me and my colleagues. One first responder was killed, and while my colleague and I were injured, many others did not survive. The strike came after the Israeli military accused Shabat and 5 other Al Jazeera journalists of membership in Hamas and or the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the PIJ. The Israeli military did not provide any evidence for the accusation. There is another theme: no evidence. The list of journalists allegedly associated with Gaza's resistance movement that the Israeli army released at the time constituted a clear assassination threat against media workers, Shabat and others said. In 2024, the Israeli army was responsible for nearly 70% of all journalists killed throughout the world, the deadliest year for journalists globally, according to a report released on February 12th by the Committee to Protect Journalists. At least 124 journalists across 18 countries were killed last year, making it the deadliest year for reporters and media workers since CPJ, that would be the Committee to Protect Journalists, started keeping records more than 3 decades ago, reflecting surging levels of international conflict, political unrest, and criminality worldwide, the report states. The New York-based NGO specifically cites the U.S.-Israeli genocide in Gaza as the primary cause of the 22% increase in journalist deaths from the previous year, stating that the bloody offensive accounted for 85 journalist deaths, all at the hands of the Israeli military. Meanwhile, Sudan state TV crew and a military reporters killed in a drone attack near the presidential palace. 4 members of a Sudanese state television crew and 2 military reporters were killed on Friday in a drone attack claimed by the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces, near the presidential palace in central Khartoum, officials and military sources said. The television crew arrived at the palace compound shortly after the army announced it had retaken the area after several days of fierce fighting with the RSF. Sudan's information minister Khalid al-Assir said in a statement that national television producer and director Farouk Ahmed Mohammed Al-Zahir, cameraman Magdi Abdel Rahman, and driver Waj Jafar Onur had been killed while performing their duty and covering the battle to retake the Republican Palace on Friday morning. Ibrahim Madawi, another director at the national television, later died from serious injuries sustained in the drone attack, Al-Zahir added. Military sources told Sudan Tribune that after being driven from the palace, RSF forces launched a swarm of what appeared to be suicide drones that targeted army soldiers deployed at the site. The sources said that in addition to the Sudan National Television crew, Lieutenant Colonel Hassan Ibrahim and Captain Imad el-Din Hassan, both attached to the military media department, and several other soldiers were among the victims. Sudan Tribune could not independently verify the number of casualties, but they did report them nonetheless. What the hell? You get the fuck out of here. Meanwhile, a Burkini journalist held after defending freedom of speech. Media body. So, authorities detained 2 journalists in Burkina Faso on Monday after the media body to which they belonged announced attacks on freedom of expression under the country's military rulers, the association said. The Journalists Association of Burkina Faso, AJB, said on Facebook that its president Guezoma Sanoga and Deputy President Bukari Ouoba were detained at a national press center in the capital, Ouagadougou, and taken to an unknown destination. Burkina has seen numerous kidnappings of people viewed as critical of the junta under its chief Ibrahim Traoré since he led a coup in 2022. In remarks to the association's Congress on Friday, Sanogo criticized attacks on the freedom of expression and the press, saying they had reached an unprecedented level. Other journalists spoke at the Congress of the abductions of 7 colleagues last year, some of whom are still missing. Media rights group Reporters Without Borders, wait, RSF, isn't that RSF up here too? What the hell? There's too many RSFs. Demanded the authorities make known where they are detained and release them without delay in a statement sent to AFP. The style of arrest by individuals presenting themselves as intelligence police resembles numerous other arrests and abductions organized by the military authorities since their arrival in power, said RSF's Sub-Saharan Africa Director Sabadou Marang. Also Monday, a third journalist, Luc Pagbelgium, of the private television channel BF1, was taken by agents of the National Security Council who wanted only to interview him, quote-unquote, about a report on the AJB Congress, the broadcaster said. Last week, a political group said 5 of its members, including a journalist, had been abducted after it denounced civilian massacres blamed on the army and allied militias. The group, SENS, had criticized videos posted on social media over the past week showing dozens of bloodied bodies with hands and feet bound, many of them appearing to be women, children, and elderly. Oh, look at that. It's another women and children and elderly getting murdered. Burkinabe authorities have denied the accusations of mass killings by soldiers and allied militias. International NGOs, including RSF and Amnesty International, have condemned several of the kidnappings of journalists. RSF said in its statement on Monday that the arrests were part of a strategy aiming to systematically silence all critical voices in the country. NGOs have also reported cases of people being forcibly recruited into the security forces to be sent to fight jihadists following a mobilization order in 2023. The campaigners say the order targets figures critical of the country's leaders. In the past decade, Burkina Faso has been caught up in a spiral of violence blamed on jihadists that has spilt over from neighboring Mali and Niger and since spread beyond the 3 countries' borders. The military authorities in Burkina Faso have also suspended several international media organizations, accusing them of publishing false information about the conflict. Fake news, fake news. The non-government group ACLED, which researches victims of conflicts, estimates that jihadist violence in the country has killed more than 26,000 people, half of them since the junta took over. Like its neighbors Niger and Mali, Burkina Faso under Traoré has turned away from its former colonial master France and drawn closer to Russia, quitting the regional alliance ECOWAS. In May 2024, he passed a charter that authorizes him to hold power for a further 5 years. Back here at home, a sad day for higher education as Columbia University tightens protest rules after Trump threatens funding cut. Osama number 5 and Spirit of the Age popping in over there on Rumble. Good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. Just chilling in the cave complex. Yes, indeed. Columbia University announced Friday that it would implement new student conduct policies, bowing to pressure from the White House after the Trump administration threatened to withhold $400 million in federal funding. Extortion for, censorship. That's what it amounts to. The move comes amid escalating tensions over campus protests related to Israel's war on Gaza, which has killed at least 61,700 people, mostly women and children. The university has faced mounting political pressure as pro-Palestinian encampments spread to campuses nationwide, placing Columbia at the heart of the growing movement. The move comes as Trump is cracking down on higher education in general, as we told you at the top of the show, on Friday ordering the dismantling of the Department of Education, which includes programs to investigate anti-Semitism, one of the main reasons given for a crackdown on pro-Palestinian activists. The new rules include a ban on face masks during demonstrations, mandatory ID checks for protests, and the hiring of additional security officers authorized to remove or arrest students. It's a sad day because the Columbia administration was blackmailed by the U.S. administration. David Frank, a professor of rhetoric and political communication, told the New Arab, the function of higher education is to sponsor free inquiry. Columbia University has emerged as a focal point in the global student protest movement, with pro-Palestinian encampments spreading across campuses worldwide. Its status as a prominent Ivy League institution in New York City has placed it at the center of political debate. In a letter to students, Interim President Katrina Armstrong addressed the university's decision, saying it reflected the substantive work we've been doing over the last academic year to advance our mission, ensure uninterrupted academic activities, and make every student, faculty, and staff member safe and welcome on our campus. Except for, protesters. Armstrong assumed the role last year following the resignation of Nemet Minouche Shafiq, who stepped down amid mounting tensions between students, the university administration, and politicians. Despite numerous developments at Columbia over the past 18 months, critics have described the new policies as a significant blow to free speech. Endorsing far-right authoritarian crackdowns by an administration filled with Christian nationalists and white supremacists will not keep Jews safe. Ooh. Yeah, because a good majority of Zionists are Christian. Hello, said Jonah Rubin, a campus organizing manager with Jewish Voice for Peace. Jews have always thrived in communities that embrace free inquiry, uphold the rights of minority groups, welcome immigrants, and protect basic civil rights. He urged universities to resist political pressure. We need the higher education sector to stand up for its basic mission, uphold its stated values, and defend its community members who are under attack by a state bent on dismantling any form of dissent. While Columbia's decision has faced widespread criticism, some acknowledge the difficult position the university was in. I can hardly blame the Columbia administration for yielding to the pressure, said Frank. They desperately need funds for researching cancer and other social ills, and they were making a trade-off. This is another step in the direction of authoritarian rule. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've said this before, that, in order for, during when Reagan was president, he wanted the drinking age up to 21, and he blackmailed states, saying, if you don't raise your drinking limits to 21, I'll take away all your highway funding. And a lot of these places needed the highway funding to keep the highways open for for commerce to flow. It's the same strong arm thing, blackmailing, but this time this is for, we'll cut off your funding if you don't cut off these protests. If you don't nip these in the bud, no cash for you, my man. Palestinian American student suspended for revealing professor was a medic in the Israeli army. This is at Emory University. Emory University. I believe that's it's in Atlanta. So, home of Cop City. If you like that place. Spirit of the age. You just had lunch. Good for you. You fixing breakfast, Go Start? Okay. When 28-year-old Umayma Mohammed gave an interview to Democracy Now! During the student encampment for Gaza at Emory University in 2024, she believed, like any other student enrolled there, that she was protected by the institution's policy on free expression. Then she realized she was in the South and was like, oh, yeah, never mind. But according to a report in The Guardian published on Monday, Mohammed, who is obtaining a sociology PhD and a medical degree at the same time, was suspended 7 months later. In that interview, Mohammed referred to, but did not name, a professor among the medical faculty who had returned from being a volunteer medic for the Israeli forces, in effect questioning how the university can reconcile the professor's academic position with his role in an army that had killed tens of thousands of civilians in Gaza. The professor participated in aiding and abetting a genocide, in aiding and abetting the destruction of the healthcare system in Gaza, and the murder of over 400 healthcare workers, and is now back at Emory, so-called teaching medical students and residents how to take care of patients, Mohammed said. The professor filed a complaint saying he did not feel safe. Oh, I don't feel safe, and demanded that the university investigate Mohammed. Oh, you telling the truth on me and stuff. Why did he quit it? Quit it. At that point in April, Emory had already made headlines around the country for its swift and violent crackdown on pro-Palestinian student protests, with police using stun guns, tear gas grenades, and rubber bullets on campus, probably from Cop City. Is that thing built yet? There's probably one somewhere. You had smoked cheese. Nobody likes a bragger. In July, the university said it found Mohammed had violated the medical school's code of conduct because she disparaged an individual in her television interview, even though she didn't name him. A number of people interjected, including Ilya Nemenman, the chair of Emory's Committee for Open Expression, and George Shepard, a law professor and president of Emory's Faculty Senate. But an associate dean at Emory insisted that Mohammed either accept the investigation's results and face the consequences, or attend a hearing in November. That event, she later told The Guardian, was one of the most dehumanizing 2 hours of my life. 3 people, the professor in question, another dean who also complained about her, and the professor's faculty advisor, all demanded that Mohammed never be allowed to practice medicine. The advisor in particular at one point screamed, "Who are you to decide what's a genocide?" Mohammed recounted to The Guardian. The dictionary, they know what a genocide is, and she probably looked in there first and said, oh, wait a minute, I think murdering children is that, and trying to eradicate a whole race of people. I think that's genocide. A week later, Mohammed was suspended from Emory's medical school for a year, but she is far from alone in facing such action for speaking up about the Palestinians. Just this month alone, a renowned Iranian professor of international law was barred from Yale University because a pro-Israeli AI-powered website alleged she was linked to a terrorist group. We told you about that. Badar Khansuri, an Indian national and postdoctorate fellow working at the Al-Walid bin Talal Center for Muslim-Christian Understanding at Georgetown University, was detained by U.S. Custom agents. His bio said that he was working on a project that examined the potential causes that hinder cooperation among religiously diverse societies and possibilities to overcome those hindrances. The Department of Homeland Security did not respond directly to questions from Middle East Eye, that's where this is coming from, on Suri's detention for an earlier article, but instead sent a statement in which it accused Suri of actively spreading Hamas propaganda, there you go, and promoting anti-Semitism, the double whammy of Hamas and anti-Semitism on social media. Suri has close connections to a known or suspected terrorist who is a senior advisor to Hamas. The Secretary of State issued a determination on March 15th of this year that Suri's activities and presence in the U.S. rendered him deportable. The statement sent to MEE read. The DHS did not provide any evidence or online reference to its claims. As per usual, Suri's arrest has prompted outrage amongst his colleagues who described him as a respected academic and scholar. Mahmoud Khalil, a Palestinian activist, green card holder, and recent graduate of Columbia University, you remember that old place, was denied protection by university administrators after he complained of threats to his livelihood and family. Like Suri, he was later picked up before being entered into government records as a detainee in Louisiana, where Suri is now being held. A judge last week ordered that Khalil must remain in the U.S. for now and did not grant the government a motion to dismiss Khalil's case against them for wrongful arrest. The government is seeking to have Khalil's case take place in Louisiana, but the judge ordered that it be heard in New Jersey. Again, with the thing, go away. What is this? Okay. All right. Two more. Pakistan charges Balak activists with terrorism. I never heard of this country or province, wherever this is. Pakistan on Sunday charged a Balak rights activist with terrorism, sedition, and murder after she led a demonstration, which ended in the death of 3 protesters, according to police documents. Mornin Balak, one of Pakistan's most prominent human rights advocates, has long campaigned for the Balak ethnic group, which claims it has been targeted by Islamabad with harassment and extrajudicial killings. Pakistan has been battling a separatist insurgency in Balochistan for decades, where militants target state forces and foreign nationals in the mineral-rich southwestern province bordering Afghanistan and Iran. On Friday, she and other activists took part in a sit-in protest outside the University of Balochistan in the provincial capital of Quetta. They demanded the release of members of their support group whom they alleged had been detained by security agencies. Police launched a pre-dawn raid on Saturday, arresting Balak and other activists, during which at least 3 protesters died. Both sides blamed each other for the deaths. Mary Lawler, the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights Defenders, said she was very concerned at Balak's arrest. Balak and other protesters have been charged with terrorism, sedition, and murder, according to the police charge sheet seen by AFP. Hamza Shafkat, a senior administrative official in Quetta, said that Balak and other activists were held under public order laws. Her lawyer, Imran Balak, is everybody named Balak in that place? Confirmed she was detained in a jail in Quetta. Balak was barred from traveling to the U.S. last year to attend a Time magazine awards gala for rising leaders. Protests among the Balak are often led by women. Balak, now in her 30s, began her activist career age 16 when her father went missing in what his supporters said was an alleged enforced disappearance. His body was found 2 years later. Earlier in March, the separatist Balak Liberation Army, the BLA, which accuses outsiders of plundering the province's natural resources, launched a dramatic train siege that officials said ended in around 60 deaths, half of whom were separatists behind the assault. Sorry, we're not currently accepting comments on this article. Well, too bad. We just gave you some. Finally, I believe this is, yeah, we are. Okay. So finally, hello. Haredi minister under fire for dancing to anti-Zionist song that calls Israeli government infidels. So I believe this is, these guys. Israeli housing minister Yitzhak Goldnoff, which used to be my porn name, until I found out there was an actual person, is under fire after a video emerged showing the Haredi politician dancing to and singing an anti-Zionist song. I wish we had it. Goldknop from the ultra-Orthodox United Torah Judaism Party attended his nephew's wedding, where the controversial song was blasted out, which slammed secular Israeli attempts to enlist Haredi Jews into the military. The song warns Haredis don't believe in the government of infidels and that we will die and not enlist, according to the Times of Israel. Israeli MKs are now calling for the Haredi minister to be sacked after he was seen in the middle of a group of wedding goers dancing to the anti-enlistment song, which is written by members of the Neturei Karta Haredi sect. Goldknop issued a statement saying he regretted the move and that he stands with the state of Israel. Of course he did. Unfortunately, some people have taken advantage of this for incitement, as if I agree with the content of the song. So here it is. I disavow and condemn it, he said, with multiple bandages on his face, I'm sure. Ultra-Orthodox parties, some of whom are in the Israeli government, are embroiled in a clash with secular Israeli parties over the enlistment of Haredi Jews into the Israeli military. Last year, the Israeli Supreme Court ruled that ultra-Orthodox Jews should not be exempt from enlistment in the military after decades of avoiding the draft due to sensitivities around Haredis serving in the military, particularly religious students. Opposition leader Yair Lapid, a key figure in the Israeli establishment's call to end the ultra-Orthodox Jewish immunity from military service, slammed Goldknop and Prime Minister Fuckhead for not sacking the minister. A minister who jumps up to dance against the state of Israel should have been fired this evening. He is the Prime Minister of evasion and refusal. He tweeted. Even far-right Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich of the religious Zionist Party slammed Goldknop's stunt and called on Netanyahu to take action. A shame and a disgrace. We can no longer remain silent in the face of Minister Goldknop's indifference, disdain, and ungratefulness toward the state of Israel and the heroic IDF fighters, he tweeted. I demand that the Prime Minister summon him for clarification this evening, set a red line for him, and put an end to his disgraceful conduct. Netanyahu is now under pressure to sack the minister, a move that could anger some ultra-Orthodox Jewish Israelis at a time the Prime Minister faces a string of domestic scandals. He did well to disavow the song that was played at the event he attended and even expressed regret about it. There's no place for songs against serving in the IDF. It's time to unite the forces within against the enemies without. Oh, so he was cool for a little bit, and then his asshole puckered. And he was like, nah, I didn't say nothing, boss man. Not me. Those were some other kids. Ugh. You know, I mean, in his case, he just got caught, basically. I'd love to get a hold of that tune. I bet it was a pretty rocking tune. Yeah, so that's your Propaganda Watch, sponsored by Masturbators. Masturbators, you're not alone, but if you are, you know, that's probably good too. So we're about to get out of here. We have our final story, our little kicker. Once again, for the end of the show, I just want to remind everybody too, if you can, help our buddy out, Kevin over at Black Bear News. Of course, his house burned down during the LA fires. So his GoFundMe link is down below. If you can't donate, if you can share out the link, that helps too. So he's a good friend, good pal. He does good work there, talking about a lot of environmental issues. He's got, he has his show on usually about 2 p.m., 3 p.m. Eastern, around that time. And I think he does a Substack show on Fridays. So help our boy out. He's good peoples. Finally today, you know, if Jurassic Park didn't teach us that we shouldn't fuck with trying to bring dead animals back to life, I don't know what will. But maybe it will take a woolly mouse to do the trick. You're like, wait, what? What kind of lead in is that? Scientists trying to bring back the woolly mammoth create a woolly mouse to scare the hell out of the woolly mammoth, I guess. There it is right there. Look at that, man. Looks like one of those hairband guys from the 80s. Look at that. Shot through the heart, and you're to blame. Looks kind of cool. Just needs a little conditioner. You know, got a couple of split ends there, but. Colossal Biosciences unveiled plans in 2021 to revive the woolly mammoth and later the dodo bird, attracting investors, headlines, and critics alike. The Texas-based biotech company has since focused on identifying the key traits of extinct animals with the goal of genetically engineering them into living animals, according to Chief Executive Ben Lamb. And there's a little critter right there. Aw, what a sweet pea. Alongside bringing back species that went extinct, the company hopes their work can be used to help with conservation efforts. But other scientists have mixed views of their work and whether it will be helpful. On Tuesday, Colossal Biosciences, this was a few weeks ago, Bioscience said its researchers had edited 7 genes in mice embryos to create a mouse with long, thick, woolly hair. They nicknamed the extra furry rodent a colossal woolly mouse. Look at that, man. Or as known in mouse circles as damn dirty hippies. Get a job. You damn dirty hippies. The company now plans to genetically modify Asian elephants to give them woolly mammoth traits, but critics have argued that this is different from actually bringing a species back from extinction. You're not actually resurrecting anything. You're not bringing back the ancient past, said Christopher Preston, a wildlife and environment expert at the University of Montana who was not involved in the research. He added, you might be able to alter the hair pattern of an Asian elephant or adapt it to the cold, but it's not bringing back a woolly mammoth. It's changing an Asian elephant. So basically, this is just Propecia for elephants. Is that what it is? It's Propecia. That mouse is cute, isn't it? Get a haircut. You fucking hippies. You peaceniks. The results have not yet been published in a journal or vetted by independent scientists. The feat is technologically pretty cool, said Vincent Lynch, a biologist at the University of Buffalo, who was not involved in the research. Alongside the mouse being given different hair, in a press release, Colossal Biosciences said the rodent had also gained the woolly mammoth's accelerated fat metabolism. Both were said to be likely related to cold tolerances. These genetic variations were already present in some living mice. The company's chief scientist, Beth Shapiro, who is actually Ben Shapiro in drag, said, adding, we put them all together in a single mouse. And now the mouse is terrorizing the island. And, oh, you cuties. Oh, sweet peas. Look at that little hippie mouse. That's just so sweet. Don't you just love that? Get your designer woolly mammoth baby today. That's right. So yeah, if you're, what you could do is if you have a history of male pattern baldness, you could genetically alter the mouse or alter your DNA and give him like this hippie hair, right? Yeah, like the hippie mouse. And the mouse kaiju and yeah, exactly. That's what you see, big giant mouse with little arms, little T-Rex arms. Because it's a mouse, and it's just, all it does is just like eat cheese. All the world's cheese has gone missing as kaiju mouse. I want the cheese. Yeah, I'm sure some sort of fucked up, Sharknado type movie is coming out of that too. So, anyway, so that's your fun little dystopian things for the day. I know exactly. Did these people not see Jurassic Park? Exactly. Nacho cheese. That's your standard joke, Mel. I love it. That's nacho cheese. The hair might not grow just on your head. Oh, hello. Hey, as long as the carpet matches the curtains, that's all that matters, right? Or if it doesn't. That's fine too. Like a little variety there. All right, we're getting silly. Stop with the sillies, you sillies. Oh, sillies. Yeah. So I guess that's it for the show today. Appreciate y'all coming out and hanging out with us, or if you're watching this later, appreciate you as well. We'll be doing this again on Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Mountain, and 8 a.m. Pacific time. I think Willie's got a show tonight. I don't know. Willie might be asleep now, but check out Willie Giggity and his show tonight on YouTube, and I think he's on Twitch. And also Around the World, D and Friends is on tonight as well. And check out all our pals here that we got for you. Good folks there, good shows. You can see what their channels are there. We try to promote people as much as we can in the interest of getting more information, more entertainment, anything out to you that you need and can enjoy. So, yeah, I think that's it for me. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you on Friday.
This is City Alpha 5! Woo!
Soon.
You better give me that fucking cheese.